Oh, again, it's
Thanks,
time right
Mookie.
now for the power
Cheeky,
hour.
Shy.
What's our name on this? Do you know?
First things first.
I don't know.
Okay.
Need you to
People just see that like somebody give them a yeah, and they're like, what the
Need
fuck ever.
you to
Meanwhile, it's someone
tell
who's
me.
like,
Panic
God.
on the brain.
Please
World
don't.
has gone
Just
insane.
acknowledge me once.
I
Things
think
are
it's Aaron
starting
Grunt, I
to
think.
get
Oh,
heavy.
you know what? That's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Can't help but think. Haven't felt this
you,
way
and she just
since
yeah.
I asked you
Cracks the
to
camera
go
lens.
steady. Wondering.
Then you just have to play through like this broken lens for the rest of the game.
Shit, man. Awesome.
Yay!
We did it.
She has like a chainsaw. She's like, yay! And then just starts swinging it around. All these little me characters are like, oh god! Hey, hold on, there's a fucking... Wait, oh, you're not controlling. I'm
Nope.
controlling.
I know that. Yes. Toad. Come on, you're like...
Okay, I think
How old are
the
you?
audio levels are good. I'm getting
Nobody
dressed into
knows.
my onesie.
Is Toad supposed to be a kid?
I don't know, dude.
I don't know either.
Is Toad even supposed to be an individual?
Yeah, or like a human? Oh, you mean like, are toads interchangeable?
Yeah.
Possible?
Need you to
Alright,
tell
we need
me
to go in
we're
here,
alright.
dude. It's a baquet with a hiscare.
But what?
Banquet with a histocrat.
But it's next time on Game Grumps time.
Oh, next time.
Care what you
Flawless.
say? I'm asking you to stay. My bunker underneath the surface. Wondering, would you be my little quarantine? Or is this the way it ends? Cause I told you my level of concern. And you are
Hey, I'm Grump. I'm not so Grump. And when the game grumps.
Level
Oh, yeah.
of concern.
Oh,
Get back here.
This is hot.
Get back here.
Is this hot?
Get back here.
Having difficulty.
Tell me
Alright,
we're
welcome back.
alright. Tell me we're okay.
Bitch, get over
Tell me we're alright. Tell me we're okay.
Oh my God.
Bring
Alright,
down
we wanna-
my
Hello? That's what he's saying?
Yeah.
concern.
Oh.
Just need you to tell
I
me
thought it was
we're
just two
alright.
like
Tell me
nonsensical
we're okay.
meh words.
Well, it could be. I don't know. Toad's kind of a weirdo.
Yeah, he is.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Oh, there's stuff over here, dude. You fucking asshole.
You always fucking act like I should know this
You
shit.
son of a bitch! You stole the cat
You
suit!
called me over! Well, I hate you.
Wow, alright. Dude, you are just a star today. You're a shining star in my night sky.
Oh! Ooh! Oh, this is gonna be a big one, Daddy-O. This is gonna be an episode to tell your kids about. Let's get this stream up to 2 viewers. What do you say? I say A-okay. All right. Let's get after it. My feet hurt. My head hurts. But I'm watching The Nightman Cometh with Lynn, Manuel, Miranda, and Cormac Bluestone. I don't know who Cormac Bluestone is, but I'm excited to learn. Let's do it. I wish I knew how to play piano. Tiny boy, little boy, baby boy, I need you. Tiny boy, little boy, baby boy, I need you. Boy, if you only knew what I'd do to you if I was that boy that's inside of you.
I do love like musical theatery sounding like phrasings like that. It's very like Sondheim, I think.
Which is?
Like this little chord. I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about music to know, but
Wait a minute. Is the stream and the video disconnected? 3, 2, 1, play.
I feel like this is like
Backwards,
chord,
backwards,
phrase.
backwards.
See, you know him.
Pause. Backwards, backwards. Pa. Blah. And now I've got to wait for the delay to see if we're good. Just gotta wait for the stream delay, baby, just gotta wait for the stream delay. My Wi-Fi here is pretty fucking gay. Don't mean to use gay in a derogatory way, but I just have to say my Wi-Fi is slow. Nope, I was just being silly. Okay, back to the stream.
See, you know him.
I do love like musical theatery sounding like phrasings like that. It's very like Sondheim, I think.
Which is?
Like this little chord. I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about music to know, but I feel like this is like I saw him in the woods.
Oh, yeah.
Standing alone in the woods. You know?
God, I wish I knew how to play piano.
Did he see you, Carol? No. I tried to look his way, but he turned and said goodbye. I'm sure we'll meet again one day. But how? Maybe I will pass him on the subway and he'll look my way, but he's blind. Maybe he can smell me or he'll sense me, but he also lost his nose in the war. Then he'll rub up and he'll feel me. But he lost his sense of feel.
When he got
See, it ain't
shocked
that
by
hard.
that electric eel.
To a beautiful show. Gonna walk down some of the stuff.
Some other musical stuff. This is very
Now, who are you?
Who am I?
Have we started? We have a guy
Sorry.
here.
We have
There's
a guy
We have a guy here. Now
That's Jimmy Doyle.
He's Jimmy Doyle from season 1.
That's
Oh,
right.
And season
8.
Oh,
Eight?
yeah.
8 for the high school reunion?
Was that what it was? 7. It was 7.
It was 7. Frank's
Yeah.
Little Beauties.
Because Mac was fat.
Can we see Cormac's face, or is this mic too high? I want to make sure we're getting all that
Here, let me-
that beautiful
Yeah, there
mug.
you go.
There we go.
You
Let's
got
do
it.
that.
I'm Cormac Bluestone, and
Yeah. Resident composer of It's
Composer.
Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
yes,
Long time pal.
I'm so excited to be here. I just gotta
good.
say that I'm so excited to finally meet you.
Me.
Yeah, you. And it's just I never thought I'd be in the room with like the three of you again, just like with the pandemic and everything, and so much has changed. So
Yeah, yeah.
this
You
is
never
just-
thought we'd be in a room together again?
I
Fatalistic
think one of us
thinking.
was gonna
Fatalistic
perish?
thinking.
One of us was going to
Fatalistic
perish.
thinking. I
yeah,
get it.
yeah.
I get it.
I don't want to say who, but the odds were laid. Odds were laid. That
Yeah.
someone's
We've
not gonna
established
make
it wouldn't be Charlie because he's the healthiest of all.
Statistically,
Well, no, did we?
we did. I won outright.
He won.
We did and we didn't.
I won in the sense that you win the competition and get all the points. We are here today to talk about The Nightman Cometh.
Yes.
Which I had forgotten to watch until this morning. I was like, oh, right, I should
Me too.
watch it.
I did the same thing. I forgot, and I was like, "Oh shit, I need to."
And I have to say, I thought I just knew it all. I was like, well, I know it so well. But there are lots of surprises in there. Again, I think one of the best episodes we've done. I think fans have reacted to it in that way.
Let me give
Funko
just
Pops
a little information
made of
about
them.
it, just so we know. Of course, everybody knows
There
this
is
episode.
structure. We do have
a tiny bit of structure.
We forget about it, but there is structure to the podcast.
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
Megan has insisted.
You do such a good job on this thing. I don't know what
kiss
this
her
is.
ass.
Don't come on here
Don't
and
do
get,
that.
get her head.
Thank you,
Don't
Cormac.
do
I
that.
really appreciate
It's already
that.
hard to get her head through the door.
Okay, well, Nightman Cometh is season 4, episode 13. It aired on November 20th, 2008,
Jackman.
which means next year around this time it'll be 15 years since it aired. It was written by Charlie Day, Glenn Howerton, and Rob McElhenney, and directed by Matt Shackman. And music composed by Cormac Bluestone.
And Charlie.
In so many ways, it feels like it was yesterday. I feel like we just shot that. I have so many memories of shooting that episode, and it was 15 years ago.
But I want to talk about how that thing begins, unless you guys got something else you want to put on the table.
How the
first.
episode begins, or how we conceived of it.
Both, because they're connected.
Yes, they are.
The way the episode begins, I'm in the back room, and you hear me start singing this song, like "Come one, come all for a
To a beautiful
to
show.
a beautiful show. It's gonna be awesome
and all
some
that
other
other
stuff. Do some other musical stuff, and then you guys are icing me out, and then it's a whole conversation of why would you write
Who
a
are we doing
musical
it
just to write a
versus?
musical? Who is it against? What's the who's the mark? And of course, ultimately, there is a ulterior motive in the episode, but that came out of the fact. Do you guys remember when we were
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to break this episode?
Oh, we had a whole.
Yes.
There's a whole other storyline that got broken.
Yeah,
that we
at one
decided
point
to
we were kicking
excise.
around like they were trying to like break into a bank or something for a specific reason, and
What?
the musical was a distraction while they were
Well-
jumping back and forth doing this other thing.
The other version of it was that there was a rival bar. There was a bar that we had some kind of a prank war.
That's
thing
what it was. That's
Going
what it
with,
was.
and they had pulled some kind of a prank on us, and we were going to pull the ultimate prank but we needed them out of their bar, and in order to do that, we created a musical, and that we were all in the musical, because that would prove that like we couldn't have done what they're saying we did because we were all on stage, and then we were going to do a whole thing where like whenever someone was off stage, they'd be going over to the rival bar to like. So that was the ulterior motive, and then
Jesus.
and we were sort of obsessed with this idea of
That would've
like,
been so complicated.
well, we can't just do a musical for no reason. Like, there's
Yeah,
got to be
right.
some other reason why
Yeah.
we're doing it. So then we just decided, well, let's just write that in.
I never knew that about what that other story, but just like as I've been thinking about this episode, so many things like fold in on itself, because I don't know if you guys remember when we did the tour of Nightman Cometh, we showed an episode during that tour,
Yep.
and it was the gang reignites the rivalry, which
Right.
sounds like that
Yes.
storyline.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're right.
that's
I never put that
interesting.
together.
Wow.
I never thought about that because I do think that we had always had this thing in mind of like, we should have some kind of a rivalry with like a younger bar, you
Yeah.
know? And yeah, I never put that together.
No
that one.
storyline gets wasted. They
No.
all get done
No, if it
eventually.
gets
Yeah,
pitched
we-
one season, it goes on a card, and
Yeah.
then it comes out eventually.
It gets recycled.
We'll
yeah.
get
there-
around to it eventually.
Yeah.
I was delighted with all the rehearsal scenes before the play. So I think
yes.
what I really remembered from the episode was the play and the performance, but the rehearsals was like,
Yeah, because we changed a lot of it. I think what's probably seared into our memories more than anything is the live shows, because that's the most recent
Right.
stuff that we did, even though it wasn't that far removed from shooting the episode. You know, we had there was a whole song, there's a whole Nightman song that we had to cut from the episode because the episode was just too long. We
I
had to
gotta
lose some
watch
stuff. That made its way into the live show. What was
It's nature. Shit happens.
And
it's
your
nature.
song
Shit
got cut
happens.
as well.
my song?
Troll in My Hole.
Oh, right. There was right. There was a whole thing at the end where
Well, no,
we make the transformation. Or
We
something?
wrote that song for the tour because we just felt we were short when we first had to perform at the Troubadour.
we wrote our
But
own
you
song.
also had that
First
song.
song.
It's the opening
the
song.
opening song. Right, he's like.
I gotta
spinning
watch
around.
the live
voice in
show
it,
because
like,
there's
you
new
jump
content
up
there,
as
and that
I
might
gotta
change the
throw
whole
in my
lore.
hole.
But something I have not been able to stop thinking about
if
is
we could
that
find those.
Dennis was supposed to be the Nightman.
I got a troll in my hole.
That's right.
My hole of an apartment.
I control your soul. That's my department.
Everywhere there's trolls living in your hole.
Right up your hole,
Making you
man.
eat their bowls, make you rub their fat rolls.
Rub their bones.
And all of this and more. I
He's
got a troll in my
his
hole. I got a troll in my hole. My hole of an apartment.
I control his soul. That's my department.
Everywhere there's trolls living in your shithole.
Right up
Make
your
you
shithole.
eat their bowls, make you rub their fat rolls.
Make it scrub their bones.
This and more.
He's got a troll in his hole.
I would love to hear from your perspective, like what your journey was for that. Like, what was the first time we contacted you? What was the first piece of information you were given? Did we give you a script?
Had you
first?
written music for our show before this episode?
Never had written music.
Wait, what?
I'd never watched TV before. Right?
No, but you hadn't written music
I've
for
never picked
Sonny
up a
before this,
guitar.
right?
Yeah, I'd never written for Sonny. It was my first thing, and
I'd written music. I mean,
Oh
you-
yeah, I was
was gonna
totally
say,
writing musical
yeah.
theater. And Charlie came to a show. I'd been doing a show for years in New York, and when I moved to LA, I brought kind of the best of it. And Charlie saw the show, and he was like, "It was bar hoppers."
Yeah.
And you're like,
Is that before you knew each other?
"No, this is
Oh, okay.
we knew each other. This was in LA, like at
Yeah.
the Saint Nick's pub."
Oh my God, Saint Nick's.
Saint Nick's.
And Charlie, after the show, was like, "Oh, that was really good. We're about to do this musical episode. We were, you did not mean it this way, but you're like, we were going to hire a professional, but we should hire you." And
That sounds like something Charlie would
It does.
say.
He would say it. No, he would say it in a different way.
That
You
is
don't
something
think I would have the sensitivity to know, like,
No,
you heard that
I think
wrong.
I think you would word it. You would word it differently.
Come on.
But
he
it's
did
one of those
not
things.
mean it that, because I knew you, I think you guys had written the script, you were in pre-production for it, and you talked to these two and sent me a script, and you're like, "Come in tomorrow, come into Fox, and we'll sit down and go through everything." And I was like, okay, I got to take my shot. I wrote drafts of all the music, and then I came in and I recorded it on a CD, and then you and me sat in a room for, 4 or 5 hours and kind of took all our ideas and mashed them together.
I think I had, like, loose versions of some of the songs.
You
right?
had
Like,
really strong ideas. Like I listened to them. I'm like, this was all like Little Boy, Tiny Boy, Little Boy. You were like, oh, it's got to be song timing. I was like, it needs a little form.
Well, how do you guys know each other?
Williamstown, summer of 1997.
Where all of your friends come from?
Where all my friends come from, yeah. It's
We
two,
met-
two apprentices, and yeah.
And Hornsby was there that same summer. the three
Hornsby,
of us.
yeah. And then right after, like when I first moved to the city, I had an apartment on my own for a year, and then with another buddy, and then the year after, I lived on Cormac's floor for as long as I possibly could until he got rid of me.
It's like, get out.
It seems like there was a lot of that with you too.
Well, it was
in
a
the old
studio
days.
apartment too. It was like a room and
Yeah,
a
yeah.
bathroom.
Yeah.
And so this dude in a sleeping bag on a wood floor. McCormick, we did a lot of jamming out, a lot of writing funny songs together.
We've played a lot of music together.
Yeah,
We
played a lot of music together. So yeah, when we were doing it, I'm sure in my mind I was like, yeah, if Cormac wants to come on and help sort of arrange these in a way that, like, I have a limitation. I'm like, I can do some chords and be like, here's a melody. Now, what are the 9 other parts doing?
Do you remember, like, in terms of the songs and what they were about and some of the lyrics? I mean, we were involved in some of that, right? Like because it was
Sure, I would
because we were
imagine.
writing the episode together. So, but I don't remember how involved Rob and I were in the conceiving of the lyrics of the songs. I don't know if we.
I don't remember any of that because I would imagine a
He
lot
deletes
because it's all
files.
tied in, right? Like, I mean, there's the dialogue backstage about, like, you
Yeah.
know, you're going for gasp, and that's all. I think that was all
Yeah,
scripted.
I remember talking about the subjects of the songs, and then they would go off and.
I remember us coming up with and talking about, just to be clear.
Yeah. Well, we were trying to figure out what would be a fun song for Dee.
Yeah.
And
Just to be
coming
clear,
off
so
that,
funny.
yeah, she would just write do a song. Just
literally
to be
write
clear.
it.
Which I definitely remember also a few years later, that's how the Birds of War is the same idea, which is do a song and then make the song about clarifying what the song is actually about.
Yes, clarifying what you mean by the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That song I love, and also in a similar vein, the very first song that Charlie was referring to, that he comes out singing "Come One, Come All" to a beautiful show. Was that scripted, or was that just you making
I don't
that,
think that was scripted.
song?
Come on to a beautiful show.
I think the script was you came out and said I wrote a musical.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think that was like.
And
being
and I
like,
think
we
I
need
think on the
something
day
more.
you felt like it needed more pizzazz.
Yeah.
So to speak. Yeah. And so you just
I'm like,
yeah,
well,
I
what
think
can we
that's
do
right.
here?
I'm a
But,
pizzazz man. Me and Charlie Day, we're both
a couple things. Wait,
we're men of pizzazz.
I'm eating because I'm uncomfortable.
Yes.
Is that an improv? That was an improv, right? Or was that scripted? That's like my
I'm
favorite
eating
line.
because I'm very uncomfortable.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of baby Snickers stuff in there. Wasn't
Yeah,
there?
Yeah,
there was.
there was a
I
baby
don't-
Snicker run.
But I
There's a
don't know
lot
if
of-
that was in the just in the live show or there was a baby Snickers run in the episode that we cut.
Yeah, there's a lot in the episode I was watching last night that I thought there was more in the episode than there actually is, and a lot of it we cut out and put into gag reels. A lot of it was just in the live show, and so I have this hazy memory of what the episode was, and it wasn't.
One of the things I love is just how straight all those rehearsal scenes are played.
Yes.
No, I'm obviously bouncing off the walls, but not in a comedic way, in a just like purely angry way.
Yeah.
Like, and you guys it's all very natural and very small. You know?
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, we all are all like we're not playing it for laughs. There's like a genuine confusion about the boy's soul thing
Yeah.
and whether the scene is about a rape and
Yeah.
you know like it's all played very grounded.
Yeah.
The Dennis, can you take a 5? Just the little detail of how you're holding your hand when you're doing that feels so specific. I'd like you to take a 5.
Will you take a 5?
I don't know why, but I remember
take a 5,
working on that. There were so many different versions of that where we just kept going back and forth. Where it's like a 5, and
Well, the
it
idea
would
of
be, and
telling
it would be a
someone to take a
5.
5 is funny.
A 5 only?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All 5.
All 5 of them?
Yeah. Please be gone for 5.
The 5 of the minutes.
There's so many specifics there in those rehearsal scenes, though, that feel like they're taken from, you know, like the kind of people that you meet in
Yes.
small town theater, like
Yes.
that type. Like, please, Artemis, please do not speak to the talent. Also,
That's
I
what
love
it
a
was.
little detail about Artemis when you say, I could have Artemis do the song, and her head pops
And her
up.
head pops up.
And she is so ready to do it.
Yeah, just that look. You know, she's dying to be in the play.
No,
Yes.
that was a big impetus behind wanting to do this episode, was wanting to mess around with the dynamics of community theater, like having all come from theater. We were like, let's do a thing where we
That's
get to
cool.
insert some of the things that we remember from sort of the corniness of like. I remember that's where the gum bit came from too. We're like, are you chewing gum? And it's like he said no gum.
said
You know
no
what I mean?
gum.
Like the teacher's pet was always
Yeah,
like he said no gum.
no gum. So it comes
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Also, yeah, those were often done with just someone playing a piano. Like there was no like orchestra. It was,
Yeah.
like- and the woman that we got
Gladys.
who plays Gladys
Who then Dennis recruited to play his grandmother in the Dennis system.
Oh, yeah.
Same actress.
Yeah. But she came on and just started improving and just talking about it, whatever she was saying, and
It's
It
in
was-
the bloopers.
Yeah.
it was unbelievable.
That scene
I
in the
have
bloopers.
those bloopers. If you
We
guys
should
want to
watch
watch
those.
those.
Yeah, those are always just fun.
I haven't
This
seen
is
this.
Gladys. She's going to be playing the piano instead of me tonight.
Yes, and I lived through the Coolidge administration, and I never thought that I would ever be at my 99 years of age being with such beautiful people.
Okay, I love that. All right, now she knows all the songs. Everything's fine. Okay.
Why?
No,
Why?
there's a little last minute ditty that happens. Okay. And so Gladys, can you just get out there and get us started, please?
Diddy.
I'll try.
Yeah. Well, don't try. Just do. Okay. You've been snipping at me all morning, and you told me the Coolidge story like 100 times.
Quiet down.
Both of them turn.
Get down. Yeah, God, I can't do this. Okay, I'm using my Coolidge.
Trying to stay into it. Trying to stay in it.
Oh, I've been through the Coolidge administration, but I never thought at my 99 years of age I would be with such beautiful people.
Okay, glad we don't have time for like
Well,
just go.
take time.
Well, don't snip at me. You've been snipping at me all night.
Don't snip at me.
Look how much fun she's having.
Oh, she was amazing.
Oh, what a delight. What an absolute delight she was.
May Laborde.
May,
Who
yes.
played Gladys. She was born on May 13th, 1909, and
Oh
she
my
started her acting career at the age of 93.
And the absolute pinnacle is her flipping through the pages when Dee sings her own song and saying, "What is happening?"
What is happening?
This delivery of one of our most iconic lines that we've written into 1,000 episodes. What is happening? It's our favorite line to write.
It is
for
our
a guest
favorite
star.
line.
What is I did that in an improv yesterday. I said, "What is happening?" Now it's a mukbang.
And no one has ever delivered it better than she did.
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
moment. I don't think.
Tip of the iceberg. She was amazing. Descending on a Sun. I stole that from Sweet and Low Down, where Sean Penn descends on a moon, and there's a great sequence where he wants to, he's making this big deal about like he's going to descend on this moon, and then he gets like he's really proud of it, and then a stagehand comes by and he's like, "That's a hell of a drop, man, could break his neck," and then he gets like nervous, and his descend is so like. But I was watching that because I couldn't remember if I did drop down or if I didn't.
We cut away, but we cut away and we
cut away so quick, yeah. But
I don't know that we did.
I think
I'm coming down on it.
Yeah.
You see it for like a half a shot.
I think you're strapped to it, so you had to cut.
Oh, to get unstrapped.
Yeah,
you get
right,
unstrapped
right.
and then come
Yeah,
off.
that's what it was. A technical thing. So I remember there was a big debate about whether we would sing this live while recording it or we would lip sync to pre-recorded versions of the song.
Right.
That was one of my first things I think I said when I came on because I had so much experience and stuff. I was like, we got to do it live. And it was so funny when we did it. It's just so much harder to do it live. No one ever does it. Our playback guy on the episode.
You got to have a click track. You got to have
those,
you got to make sure that the rhythm is the same in every
Those
take.
earpieces are really expensive too.
It's tough editing wise.
Yeah.
The playback guy, he had a couple Emmys. He did like the Scrubs musical, the Drew Carey musical, and he kept saying to me, "What are you guys doing? You do the pre-records and you lip sync. This is ridiculous." And during editing, I was getting calls like, they don't know what to do with any of this. How does this all go together? Blah, blah, blah.
What we cut together was a mixture of us singing live when we were filming and the pre-recorded stuff. As I recall, we spent a tremendous amount of time. Well, the
They built
mixer
like a little
spent a tremendous
booth.
amount of time. Like, yeah.
But
Cutting all that together.
the live performance aspect of it is what makes it so funny. Like if it was polished, it wouldn't be funny. It's the fact that it's unpolished and people are singing off key and like
in those musicals that you're talking about, the episode itself becomes a musical versus right. So the Scrubs, for example, and you'd need that to be polished. And we've done versions of that on this particular show, but this where you're putting on a performance, you have to do it live. Right?
I think
Otherwise
almost every single.
it seems
Well, I think these
pre-recorded
were
live.
the exact conversations we were having.
Yeah.
Honestly,
See,
I think
this is
And
why
we
we
were
don't hire a
right.
professional.
that's right.
When is Danny gonna be on the pod?
Have you figured out that first Christmas present yet? Well, look no further than down. That's right, down there at your underwear.
Are you telling us to give people our underwear as a gift? Because that seems...
No, I'm saying get them a new pair from Me Undies.
Could I give some of my current undies if they are Me Undies?
Why would you even ask that?
Well, because of my experience, Me Undies are the absolute snuggliest, most comfortable undies in the game. Maybe I'm sporting a pair the recipient doesn't have yet, right?
I don't think that they'll want your old undies once they get their new undies. Plus, Me Undies holiday collection also has bralettes and PJ sets, holiday sweater prints, classic plaids for dads, and the softest loungewear ever in sizes XS through XL.
What if I am the recipient?
Well, Glenn, this year you're in luck because Me Undies is encouraging you to do holiday your way. And if your way is gifting yourself a bunch of underwear, more power to you. Just dispose of your old underwear responsibly.
Okay, Glenn, we'll talk
What does
about
that mean?
sell it on eBay.
To get 20%
yeah.
off your first order, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to meundies.com/sunny.
Start the bid.
That's meundies.com/sunny.
Guys, I have an
He's
announcement.
announcement. Glenn's got an announcement.
It's a medical
Raycon.
announcement from our friends at Raycon.
Oh.
Do you or a loved one suffer from chew volume anxiety, CVA?
It's a very serious condition that does not get talked about enough, but deserves to be, especially with the holidays coming up.
When you want to block out the sound of annoying relatives chewing their food or chewing your head off about your life choices, we here at the Always Sunny podcast recommend that you drown them right out with a sporty new pair of Raycon wireless earbuds.
I can personally attest that Raycons are the perfect gift for anyone in need of drowning out uninhibited chewers, okay? Even if it's a gift for yourself. Watch this. So pop these in here.
Right.
There we go. Now,
Hey, Rob?
Yeah, I'm ready.
why don't you guys pop...
I'm smacking.
You okay?
I'm smacking.
Are you guys pantomiming or are you actually making noise?
Plus, you, as the gift giver, will love that they start at half the price of other premium audio brands. So go ahead. Take a look at the holiday bundles for the fitness lover or gamer or CVA sufferer in your life.
Which you can find in Kohl's or Walmart.
Yeah, but why not try, just buying them from us, your trusty friends? So right now you can go to buyraycon.com/sunny to get 20% off. Or you could save even bigger and get 30% off Raycon's exclusive holiday bundles.
That's buyraycon.com/sunny for 20% off your Raycon purchase. Buyraycon.com/sunny.
Stage 3.
My little black sailor's cap that I wear is a homage to when I was in college and I decided I want to start doing plays. There was a theater club, not a program. There was like a club, and they did plays in like a church basement. And the guy who ran it was a guy named Tom Kirkman, and he used to be a priest, but he wasn't a priest anymore, and or maybe he still was. I don't know. But lovely guy. I really appreciate him putting me in plays, and but he always wore like a little sailor's cap. Like that was like his thing. And he wore boots, and he would breathe through his teeth like after rehearsal, and he would go, "That was awesome." Magic. That was his style. Anyway, it's not. The story fizzles out, but
Singing, bitch!
a little
You're not
tip
gonna
to
have
old
a
Tom
bass by
Kirkman,
the time I'm
I
done
owe
with
him
you!
a debt of
I like that.
gratitude.
What would Troll Toll? Where did that come from?
Well, both Troll Toll and Tiny Baby Boy came a little bit from the musical I used to do with Hornsby, Paperboy. So up at Williamstown, Hornsby and I used to improv this musical about a paperboy moves to the
I
city.
remember this.
And Tiny Boy was loosely based on a song called like Happy Thoughts that he and his, or Kind of Funny Thoughts. He gets a girlfriend and he's having kind of funny thoughts. And then the song gets darker and darker where they're like, like maybe we could also get a ski mask and rob a bank and kind of funny thoughts, and then they're like, we'll shoot the clerk. They're like, yeah, let's shoot the clerk. And, it's playing against like a sweet song. And then Troll Toll was same, like where Jimmy the Paperboy winds up in a bad part of town and he's just like, oh, there's homeless people.
Who was the first one who realized that whole and soul, when boys whole and boys soul, who put that together first?
That soul and whole sound?
I think I remember us talking about that in the writer's room for sure. That was definitely something that that was like a big laugh in the writer's room.
Seems like a Martyr and Roselle thing.
That is such a funny one. You watch this episode, it's like one of those episodes you're like, this is from that episode, this is from that episode, this is from that. It's just like wall to wall. The jokes, the songs, the musical, it's great, but like there's just so much from this episode.
The audience that we had in there, I believe we discussed this before.
Oh my God.
Who was that audience? Wasn't an audience of people who had they'd never heard of the show, seen the show. They thought maybe they were there to watch a play.
An actual play?
I don't know, but I don't think we warned them. We just did it, and I think there was a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
A lot of confusion.
Right.
Nobody found it funny.
That's epic.
There were
And
like
they were
100
being
extras
forced to
there.
laugh.
Imagine if you had no context for what it was that you were about to watch, and then all of a sudden, that was the play that was presented to you.
Yeah.
I think we did run it from start to finish,
We
right?
did.
Yes,
So we
over
just
and over.
we just performed the play, and then it is what it is. And then we did pickups later.
And we shot it like a live show, basically.
Yeah.
And then we went in for coverage
Yeah.
and shot each moment and each scene like we
Kinda
would in a
feel
normal
that.
episode,
That was all Shaq.
as I recall.
Those cat eyes, you can't see a goddamn thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the
You
live
can't
show, you
see.
just painted your eyelids,
That's
right?
right, because you can't see with those cat eyes. You
Yeah.
can't see anything, and they're just
They
scratching
hurt.
your eyes. They hurt.
You couldn't see through them?
So they give you just a tiny little eye hole so you can kind of get this out, but really it just feels
But
like
it
there's
moves
something
around, so-
Yeah, it moves around, and it feels like it's just scratching your eye the whole time.
So I remember when we did Troll Toll.
Sounds like hell.
I'd written this like little bass line that you came in with, and you're like, dum, dum. And you had to talk and snap at the same time. And I remember.
Dude, you were struggling with that, I remember.
Oh, I'm sure. Talk
Yeah.
and snap.
Well, also, you wanted him to snap, don't.
Yes.
And I was like in between.
And you were doing, don't.
But what's so great about Cormac is he's so patient. He's so patient. So for an hour, I'm trying to do this thing, and he's like, "You're doing great. You're doing great." There's no way I'm doing great after an hour. And Glenn's just like,
Well,
Jesus
that's so
Christ,
funny because I remember every time that song would start, I'd be off stage, like going really big to help you out.
Oh, you're stage momming him. That's
Yeah,
sweet.
stage mom.
Well, here I am 14 years later. I realized you couldn't see me. I'm just like, doing this for the crew.
No, but just knowing you were there made me feel bad.
Also, you had to write like, that's so funny. I remember you writing that whole bum ba da da, and then you had to do a very specific thing just to get Danny into the song, which was like down 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 down, like here is coming your time to start singing.
Yes, I did. I do remember that. Yeah, because he never knew when to come in.
Well, I remember I'd written like a draft of Troll Toll. It was this loungy thing, and you're like, no, it's got to be like you gotta da 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 da, like, and I was like, oh yeah, we're doing this for Danny. And I was like, oh, it's like a little blues thing. And of course, it just put all the onus on Danny. Like so many of the songs are just lyric. You know, it's just like jam-packed wall to wall. But yeah, he on the tour every night he would hit that. But we'd have the whole band, like just guys, 4, and everyone just go 1, 2, 3.
You gotta get it.
Well, I want to get into all the
Wanna
music
get in
'cause
that boys'
as you
hole.
pointed out, Cormac. There's so much in this episode to get to, and to that end, I was really nervous that I wouldn't ask all the questions that like a big fan of this episode would ask. So, are you guys ready for the super fan to ask you
I'm
all his
excited.
questions?
You're gonna have
Frank,
to
come
sing
out.
the songs though.
Sure.
Okay. All right, we'll just bring out our super fan, Lynn Manuel Miranda.
Hey, man.
Wow.
Nice to meet you. Oh, man.
We got him.
Wow. Holy shit.
What a treat.
Are you familiar with musicals?
Oh
with
my
the
goodness
theater?
gracious!
Do you have any sort of sense
Long
of how
time,
to
first
write
time. Happy to be here. Yes, I love this episode. And I have so many questions. I'm so glad we have the composer here too.
Wait, we have to talk about you for a minute.
No, we don't.
Really?
I have to talk about you for a minute.
Talk about him for a minute.
So I saw Hamilton. We were talking about Hamilton yesterday.
Yes,
It was so exciting. We were talking about it yesterday, and I was looking over at Meg and was like, "Oh, this is gonna be so."
Oh, you guys
In
knew.
the
So I
writer's
didn't know.
room.
Yeah, I had no idea you were going to be here.
And I was
Yeah,
saying,
no
like if you didn't see it without Lin Manuel playing, you didn't see the music. And so I'm there, and we're in New York, and we're watching the play, and like I'm looking at you, and you're like performing. I'm like, I feel like this dude's looking right at me, but I'm like, he can't see me. He can't see me.
No, I took my cat eye lenses out.
Yeah, out, man. And then when it came time for the bow, you were doing the bow, and the whole place is going nuts. I was blown away, of course. And you point at me and Mary Elizabeth, and you go, "Holy shit, Charlie and the Waitress."
Yeah, you said it during. He
I
said
said it in the bows, like on stage, like in front of everybody else.
I was like,
There's 1,400
happening?
other people there, and on my way, and I was like, "Oh, Charlie and the Waitress."
Yeah.
dude, you
From
left.
on stage.
And then we went backstage and we saw you, and you were amazing. And you left John Bon Jovi waiting. That guy had to wait. It's like
Bovine
Mr.
Joni?
Bovine
Bovine
Joni.
Joni.
Bovine
Joni. I think that's who it was. Yeah,
Wait your turn, Bovine.
yeah. Fucking
Yeah.
Obama. Everyone had to wait.
If I had more presence of mind, I would have turned to you and said, I was that baby boy, that little baby boy was me. I was a man.
Well,
So that's
So
where
are
you
you
guys
saying
met.
that
and
we've
you guys know each other.
inspired you? I
We
think is where
inspired-
we're
yeah,
getting
that's
to.
where-
Is that right?
yeah,
Okay.
I'd never heard of
This is the
musicals
snake eating its
before.
tail this episode right now. I came to thank you for all of it.
All the inspiration, yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Well, the nice thing about you being here, Lynn, is that you can answer once and for all. Does anyone write a musical for no reason? Or is it always versus
Yeah,
somebody?
it's always versus. What's the con? The long
the
con
angle?
for Hamilton, and it was a 6-year grift.
Who were you writing that versus?
Who was it versus? I guess Jefferson? I wanted to ask you guys about your history.
I'm
with theater,
fucking never
musical
watching
theater. I know
Hamilton.
for
You
me, it
can't
was
make me.
That was the place where I found any crust of cool in high school, and it was the place where I could exist outside my grade, and I could exist you could collaborate on something that was not just like the drudgery and horror of high school.
Right.
And so I was wondering, and then you guys have chops. I was watching the live episode on the way here, and the Hole Inside My Apartment bonus song where you're just like wailing like Freddie Mercury. Like you guys have to have done musicals at school.
I did a lot of musicals.
Yeah. I want to hear the entire biography.
List.
I want to hear. Yeah.
I did a bunch of really random musicals that most people have never heard of. I did a musical called Starmites.
Oh wow.
Do you know this?
It's
musical?
that's like a very cult flop musical.
Yeah.
I don't know it.
I did a music called Celebration. Was written by the same team that wrote The Fantastics. Henrik and a Little Night Music.
Oh shit.
That was by far the hardest. I ever because I had to
I did
play
Jesus
the cello
Christ Superstar.
while singing an extraordinarily difficult
Jesus
song.
Christ.
But I had
Sometimes
to act
always
like I
the
was
hardest.
playing the cello along, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It was crushingly difficult. Yeah, there's some
Harder than The Nightman Cometh?
much harder than
Yeah.
that.
And Charlie, what's your musical background? Because to me, your musical background, these things just make sense to me.
Well, okay, so
Kinda.
both my
Which
parents,
is one of the best.
both my parents are music teachers.
Yeah.
My mom taught kindergarten through 8th grade, and my dad was a college professor. And growing up, I remember my mom doing some productions of she put on HMS Pinafore and The Mikado and The Wiz. And I was too young to be in these things, but I remember the 8th grade kids were doing these plays and I would see them. So I was introduced to it. Then in 2nd grade, we did
When you say she put on,
she was the musical director of
Got
the
it.
school. So
Okay.
she was a music teacher. You're going to Mrs. Day's class for kindergarten through 8th grade, right? So then I did James the Giant Peach, and we did a musical version, and I sang that song "Smile, though your heart is breaking" or whatever.
Yeah.
So the first time I had to sit and do a song, and then I didn't do shit until high school, my senior year, which I did South Pacific.
but you were playing music. I mean, you were.
Oh yeah, I started I kind of rebelled against it, and then once I got into high school, I picked up the guitar, started writing little things, and then.
But you started. That wasn't your first instrument. Were you playing trumpet or something?
Yeah, I had some piano lessons, which I ditched at 10. I played trombone. And then I ditched trombone, and then I picked up the guitar, and I sort of half learned that, and then back to the piano. But then I get to college, and I do Sondheim's Into the Woods.
Yeah.
And I'm just the guy who goes the slotted spoon can catch the potato.
Were you the narrator?
Nope, just a guy,
You're just a guy?
like
Just
a
a walk-
dad, yeah. But then I started do you remember the Bravo channel?
Of course.
Before it was all this
Before it-
reality show, they would play plays.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they had
Right.
Into the Woods on there a lot. It was on a lot. And I would get home after hanging out with my buddies, and I'd make myself a gin and tonic, and I would watch
Into the Woods.
Into the Woods. I was God, this is so good. I didn't think I liked this before, and I really like it now. And so I don't know. It's I've had a long relationship with musicals, but also never really been a part of them. Never done one professionally.
Yeah.
Don't have a huge desire to kind of like and don't like them.
Yeah.
So,
Most people's relationships.
Can
we talk about Stephen Sondheim for a second? Because
Yes.
he's been referenced so many times on this podcast. We talked about him yesterday. I know he was a friend of yours, a mentor of yours.
Wait, you knew him?
Yeah.
Oh God!
Wow. And he just passed this past year, correct?
Past November, yeah.
Wow. And I think our audience would probably, I don't know how big of fans of musicals our audience is, but I know Stephen Sondheim only from what I've heard about him from you guys. And I've watched musicals my whole life, but I never realized what a massive piece of musical theater Stephen Sondheim has given to this culture, correct? He was
I don't know what the analog would be in another. It would be like Scorsese for film, or it would be Spielberg for film. Like, he just redefined it on his terms. And the crazy thing about, one of the most remarkable things I think about Stephen Sondheim's career is that his mentor was Oscar Hammerstein II. Like, not like only mentor, but adopted dad. His mom dropped him off at Oscar Hammerstein's house. They were neighbors. And he was just like, I don't want to leave. Don't make me go back to my mom. Can I hang out with you? And he always said, if Hammerstein were a butcher, I'd be a butcher. So he's mentored by like half of Rodgers and Hammerstein. But his shows are totally different. You know, Rodgers and Hammerstein wrote like Oklahoma and South Pacific and these Sound of Music, like these very like wholesome, you know, it kind of defined what musical theater was, but they were also these very naturalistic musicals. And Sondheim took that and wrote Sweeney Todd about a homicidal barber, or a presidential assassin musical. And he just, you know, I think the lesson of Sondheim's career is, one, first of all, it's like variety. Like, he never repeated himself. And two, he just never, he always just kind of took what you would say is like, that can't be a musical. And he would turn that into like the best musical, which of course brings us back to the Nightman.
Do you think that coincides with like the 70s, just in general, like what film was doing, you know, where you have like the movies of the 50s and you have a lot of happy endings, or, you know, a much more kind of big polished thing. And then the 70s, people start being like, actually, the guys just go on a motorcycle ride across the country and then they're shot to death. You know what I mean?
I think it really was a reflection of who he was. One of the things Oscar told him in one of his early musicals, he started showing Oscar stuff when he was like 15 years old, was, you're trying to write like me, don't write like me. If you write what interests you, like, you'll be ahead of everybody else. That was his big advice to young Stephen Sondheim.
How do you feel about that? I mean, do you probably agree with that sentiment clearly? I mean, I know that for us was always our guiding principle was, you know, let's just do what we think is funny and hope that other people like it, you know, because it's our best shot at making something original. Since there's only us, you know, we're the only people that could conceive of something that only we can conceive of, so let's do that.
Yeah.
You know?
To bring it back to the Nightman Cometh, you're talking about pursuing just kind of what you love and making that to keep things original. What's interesting to me about this is it's a musical that you guys made, and you usually, I imagine, you workshop musicals in front of audience, so you have some idea of how they're going to hit once you get to like the big venues. But you guys made and recorded a musical and released it to the world in its fully finished form, the only way that it will ever exist.
And I have a follow-up question about this, because it also emerged on what looks like the most insane chicken scratch pile of paper. And then gets translated by Artemis into English.
She added words, as they say. She added words.
So I'm curious. Well, I'm curious how you guys workshop the musical among yourselves. Like, how do you find boys hole?
I mean, the beauty of what we're doing is like, you have an absolute bailout parachute with a joke, right? Which means we don't have to do anything in earnest, which means that we can fall right flat on our face. Like, yeah, sure, there's a piece of me that's always like, yeah, I'd like to write a musical. That'd be fun. I don't have the guts and balls to actually write a musical and put it in front of the world. But if I write a musical that's a joke about musicals, then I'm safe, right? and kind of like our show is such a good...
If I write a TV show that's a joke about TV shows, then I'm safe.
Practice, like playbox for... sandbox, like playground for kind of trying things, which is like, I'd like to write a David Bowie-esque rock song. I can do it on our show. Or like, I want to try an English accent, but it can be bad.
Yeah.
You know, like...
I do have a question about the English accent, which is your accent as the Nightman. It's very David Bowie and Labyrinth to me. Here's your troll.
I never picked up
Here's your troll.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm just trying to keep up. I can't remember.
There's something quiet. There's something quiet about it that's very like David Bowie as Gareth. Well, love, Here's your toll troll.
Yeah. I see what you mean now. Yeah.
That's what I was going for. I was going for Bowie and Labyrinth. Thank you.
Do you want to write another musical? Is that a hope?
Yeah, he's always writing. You're always writing.
You're never going to not write musicals?
Yeah, I've worked really hard to get good at it. And so I want to keep doing it. But the thing is always like finding the idea that pursues you. Like it can't just be, I've written ideas where I've written my way and I go, oh, I think I'm done. Like I'm not interested in pursuing this anymore. That's what's so kind of beautiful about this episode is you can tell just in the context of the story, Charlie was possessed by an idea and he saw it through to, like he actually did something very impressive. And the side of Charlie that this unlocks in the episode, like when he is screaming at Dee. I mean, we have never seen Charlie like that.
Full theater tyrant.
So explain to me where the full theater tyrant came from, because
I think that's just a funny concept.
But he's just so powerful. Yeah, and Charlie's never really powerful.
Don't you feel like that's a dynamic that happens in the theater? Like, I'm sure, Glenn, you've seen it, like in the Juilliard days, where it's just like this extreme tension about this ridiculous thing that people are doing. But also underneath it, I feel like he's trying to get this girl to marry him. And he's got everything riding on it. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, I need this play to be good.
It's your last shot.
Because it's my last shot. I'm going to propose to this woman.
There's moments where your IQ goes up 100 points. Like when he goes,
true.
turn the page over.
What is it?
Nothing. That's when you'll sing. That is brutal.
Yeah.
Is that
this? This I want to play this section.
He's
this
in
is
his
one of my
he's in his
favorite moments.
zone.
Charlie, this is my big song.
Yeah.
Everybody else has a big song. I deserve to have one.
Do you?
Don't screw me like this, Charlie.
Don't screw you. Oh, I'm sorry, Dee.
Look at you
let me try
wringing
to
your
remember
hands.
something. Let's see. Did Dee write a musical and come to Charlie with it? No! Charlie wrote a musical and came to Dee with it. And the gang likes to screw it up and make it about themselves and take it away from Charlie and ruin his hopes and dreams. So let me tell you something, Dee. Let me break down a scenario for you. I could cut the song, okay, because I wrote it. I could have Artemis do the song, okay, because you did not write it. Or I could strap on a wig and I could do the song myself. So you tell me, little miss all that, what do you want to do? A song or no song?
Like, a funny thing happens when you're doing a scene like that where, like, I'm just screaming at Caitlin, right? And I feel her feeling screamed at. Like, I can feel her starting to be like, well, he is, whether it's the actor or the character, this man is fucking screaming at me.
Yeah.
And I can't, like, soften that blow. I can't be like, all right, well, let me back it off a little bit because she's getting upset. Like, I got to stick in it. So, like, I have to, like, turn the nice side of my brain off.
That's funny because you're giving her exactly what she needs as an actor by doing it.
I know. But then there's a side of you where you're like, this is abusive in a way.
Yeah, but of course, in Caitlin's mind, she's like, "Oh, this is great. Like, I am getting screamed at. That's how I'm supposed to be reacting." So it's a very genuine reaction.
She plays it great.
There's nothing more abusive than the level of stalking that goes on in this particular episode.
Stalking?
Yes.
Stalking the waitress?
Of the waitress.
Yeah. Oh
and even in the end, when you're like, well, I'm coming.
Yeah,
I didn't sign anything, so I'm coming back tomorrow. That is sinister.
It's completely
sinister.
Completely wrong.
And yet people have really used that song as a proposal song. I've seen YouTube videos of people literally proposing in real life using
we gotta put that in the podcast.
That song. I will.
I'd like
I'll
to see a
stick it
few
in
of
right
those.
here.
Now I'm here to ask for your hand, so if you want to marry men.
Wow, that's a pretty good set.
Won't you come on stage and join me in the same call matrimony? Please tell my friends you
As you were saying, you wrote it with this out, which is it's supposed to be funny, it's not supposed to be that good, and yet everybody loves it. They love the songs. Like you somehow looped around again to create something that isn't a joke, that is genuinely.
I mean, this is the power of music, man. I'm sure you have experienced this. Is that it reaches people beyond what? Now I'm doing the George Bush thing. It's reaching you to your soul. I don't know. It can just tap it like that. I didn't know anything about Hamilton when I went to go see it. I just heard it was a hit. I didn't know anything about you. I went to go see it, and 10 minutes into the play, I'm like, okay, it's like we're rapping, right? Like this is new.
It's like 10 minutes into a rapping.
Yeah, and then by the end, like it was a completely.
Oh, it's primal.
It's primal. Yeah, it was like
hits you in a different
that hit me in a way that very few pieces of art actually have, and like just something about the power of combining music.
I'm not gonna watch Hamilton. I'm not gonna do it.
I know it hits you in a totally different way.
Even in our goofy kind of like, hey, we're doing a silly bad musical, the songs stick with people.
But it's funny because I'm so allergic to meta musicals. Like they're their own genre where they're like, we're commenting on the fact we're doing a musical. Isn't it so hilarious that we are breaking into song? I kind of generally hate that shit.
Yeah.
I'm just like, stop apologizing for the thing you clearly love to do. Yeah. But that doesn't come across in this episode. Like what comes across is that Charlie earnestly, this show came out of him and he's using it, of course, for sinister ends, but it doesn't ever feel like you guys are commenting that musicals are bad.
No.
It feels like Charlie is inept at making what he wants to have happen. And like the vanity of your characters is always going to upend you. Stage freeze. Don't say stage freeze.
Right.
Fucking do it.
The joke isn't that musicals are bad. The joke is that we're bad at doing them.
Yes.
and
that
do a
you
good
sabotage
job.
yourselves.
Yeah, we're not
we
making
want to
fun
do it
of,
well.
of the show
But no,
itself.
you guys are working your ass off. Like when the Nightman comes out and he's finally doing his earnest, awesome karate, and they're laughing. It's it's such a dejected little aside.
I also love the little moment where Dennis is backing up to grab the gun, and you don't want to turn around and grab it because you want it to be subtle. So what you do is you flail around behind you for someone. Contrasting that with the subject matter that you're talking about it's so dark.
Do you write on piano? When you go, you sit on a piano and you...
Yeah, I can't play trombone. I can't play.
You don't write on trombone?
I don't write on trombone. No, I only ever learned piano. I took piano lessons as a kid, and so I have my keyboard hooked up to my computer, and I wrote in the Heights like on GarageBand, like used that to arrange it, and then graduated to Logic for the subsequent shows.
Can we talk about your process for a little bit? Because I found it fascinating when we were in New York. We went out to dinner and we went to see a comedy show, and then you were like, I got to get home because I found this fascinating. He said this to me at dinner. He said, I can't stay out too late tonight because I got to get home because my boss is expecting me to deliver a song by the end of the day tomorrow. And I thought he was joking, and I laughed, and he was very serious. And I was like, "Who's your boss?"
Right, serious.
My boss. I mean, he was like, "But you were earnest insofar as you had to deliver this to your boss." And I was like, "Who is your boss?"
Who could his boss
and it's the head of music at Disney. What's his name? Who's also a friend?
My buddy Tom McDougal. Yeah. He runs music for Disney, and I was writing a song on for an assignment for him.
Yes, and I just found that fascinating because to me, if there's any artist in the world living right now who doesn't have a boss, it's you. However, I found it interesting. First of all, obviously you're respectful of somebody who's paying you. You're a professional, paying you, and they have an expectation of delivery. But beyond that, it almost felt like you enjoyed the constraint of knowing that you had to get something done.
Yeah.
Is that a part of your process?
Yes. I think this says equal amount about you that it does about me, that you are fixated on my having a boss.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, I'm instantly resentful of anyone who would call themselves my boss.
Yes.
Glenn, I thought we were Rob's boss.
Yeah, aren't you?
We just don't.
You just don't.
Subtle with it.
We don't want to trigger it.
You don't have to say it.
I love a deadline. I love a deadline.
Yeah,
That's what I love. And when I'm working on something, to know that we're going to meet about what I write every week, that's the best way for me to get anything done. That was how In the Heights got written, how Hamilton got written. When I started writing Hamilton, took me a few months to write the opening song. Took me a year to write the second song, which was half just like not writing the song, and half just me not committing to finishing it. And it wasn't until Tommy Kail got involved and was like, let's just put a date where you're going to perform as many songs from Hamilton as you can, and and we'll just commit to that, like 7 months from now. And I wrote 11 songs. So that tells me that like I need a deadline to get anything done.
Because then you can just keep chipping away at something. At a certain point, you're like, okay, I have to move on. And only when you've moved on from it can you go back to it and be like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was, or it's even better.
Yeah. And also, I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. Like, my favorite part of the process when I'm working on a musical is bringing the song in and then being like, all right, like, here it is, like, guts out. Like, what do we think? What's confusing? What could be better? What did you like? What didn't make sense? And I'm sure that's how you guys work, too, in terms of, like,
It is, and I think this is a great lesson for young artists and people who are trying to get into creating anything, is the idea of iteration. We talk about this quite a bit, which is oftentimes people are afraid to show people what it is that they're working on at early stages because they want to perfect it, not realizing that there is no perfection. And like so much a part of any collaborative art is to get other people's opinions. And if you don't put that, if you don't have either an external party who's putting on that limitation or those guardrails of saying we need it by this date, then you have to do it internally and just say, look, by this date, I'm going to show it to people. And that's not a failure if someone says, oh, that's pretty good, but what if you tried this or what if you tried that? That's all a part of the process. And even the people who are the greatest in the world at it, like to hear that, I think like an audience member to hear that you also fear that and also will sit down at an early stage and show it to somebody and take notes, I think is really inspiring.
Yeah.
You say price of my war. Now that fucking number, which is so all the King's numbers are so good. Did those come quickly, writing wise? Or?
Those came away from the piano. So those came as like a tune in my head. I was actually on my honeymoon when I wrote King George's song.
Really?
Yeah, I was on an island in the South Pacific with my wife. There was not a piano anywhere.
Now, how do you do that? It's just in your head?
I think the reason it's so catchy, and again, like your own bullshit becomes a part of your process. Like for me, I don't have very good piano chops. So a melody has to survive my chops, you know? And so like that song was so catchy, it had to survive the 2 weeks I was on vacation and stay in my head. And I wrote down the words as I put words to the melody once it was in my head. And they were pretty close to what the final words would be, but I just sang it to myself. And it was.
Did you take a video?
And it had to survive. No. It just had to survive. And I think that's why it's the catchiest song in the show. Like, it was just stuck in my head for 2 weeks.
But it's an interesting song to write on your honeymoon because it's about a very dysfunctional relationship.
Yeah, well, but it's also a breakup song.
That's true. That's true.
Like, it's actually a breakup song. It's like, no, you'll be back. You're stuck with me. So maybe let's not look too deeply into that.
Yeah, it's a perfect song. Like every now and then it won't even be on. I'll just like start singing it. I don't know why. It's just in there.
It's in there.
It's in there for life now, I think.
Yeah,
that's how a lot of us feel about the Nightman Cometh.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, it's
trying to get it right in that skull where it stays forever.
Yeah. You do have a knack. Charlie does have a knack for writing very catchy melodies, or like catchy things that just grab you right away.
I feel like it could have been a good commercial jingle, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The lyrics too, I think, are so catchy, and almost because they're so not specific. Like I'm thinking specifically of the last song. If you want to marry men, will you marry me? Like the little things that are added in.
Yeah,
like
it's not even
that.
men, it's man.
If you want to marry man,
if you want to marry man. Yeah.
So
those
it could
things.
be.
When you wrote that, did you mean like were you calling her man? Like
both.
If you want to marry man?
Both.
Or was it like if you want to marry man?
I knew it would be funny as both.
I am man.
And like it's also like a bad lyric.
Yeah.
But like it's calling her man, which is also weird.
Yeah.
Please say
But
yes
also,
and
like-
do not bone me.
Do not bone me.
What I love is that the beginning has like the rigorousness of like a Bach cantata. There's like a chord for every note. It's like dun 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 dun. It just gets it's like very like fugue like almost, and then it goes to the like craziest hard rock play. It's like da 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 da.
That's because we don't know what to do.
Today, Creeps and listeners, we are supported by Athletic Greens and their delicious 5-star, lifestyle-friendly green powder, AG1.
All right, you know what? I can start this time. Have you guys ever counted all the way up to 75?
To 75? Like just what do you mean? Just because?
Well, yeah, I guess there's a reason. That's because that's the number of high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens in AG1.
You know, I'll be honest with you guys. Hearing 75 of all of those things every time we advertise for Athletic Greens, it kind of becomes like this sort of amorphous blob of a number. But, you know, when you break it down and count it out one by one, I mean, that 75 is a lot of nutrients.
Yeah, and they're all together in one place. And it's hard to get any group of any size together in one place. It's hard enough to get the four of us together in one place.
Yeah, no, it is. That's why we have to do this remote thing.
To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/sunny.
Again, that is athleticgreens.com/sunny to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
These things just make sense to him.
Yeah, it just makes sense to him. It makes no sense to me.
Sounds like a James Taylor song. Like, it's so beautiful without the lyrics on top.
But the Tiny Boy Baby Boy is a total Sondheim ripoff with those kind of chords, like.
Right, because it's a 2-chord jam, but the chord on top is very like
it's
like
major 7.
Major 7, yeah.
Well, I don't know these words you're saying. But that's the thing this is why I never pursued music, because all that shit I can't get that shit.
Oh, yeah, that's perfect.
You could. It's just names for what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah, that's really all it is.
Yeah. Right? Isn't that it?
Yeah, it's
very
it goes.
Sondheim-y.
Wait,
very
can I ask you something again? Because this name keeps coming up. What is it about that makes it sound like Sondheim?
Because it's
just sounds like
no. It's Sondheim would never use like a major chord when he could do like a weird 7th chord or a 2nd or a 4th. Like he just did interesting voicings.
And Into the Woods is a lot of that kind of like, or like you know those kind of chords.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. You would know, but
Maybe one.
Yeah, or maybe this is what I was doing for. Yeah, it's that. We're in the woods.
I wish.
I'm going walking. I'm in the woods. I'm looking for a little butter now. Like it's like it's all that kind
what
of
was
shit.
his take on the boys'
I'm
hole?
looking for a hole.
Did he have it?
A hole in the hole. Any hole is for a rabbit. I don't need rabbit.
So wait,
You should.
but take me from you finding that very Sondheimian right hand to the call and response of ooh.
Well, that was Cormac.
Tiny boy, little boy, baby boy, I need you. Tiny boy, little boy, I want to touch you, boy.
If you only knew what I'd do to you if I was that boy who's inside of you.
It's also in waltz time.
It's a waltz.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1,
I think
2,
if I knew
3,
all the
1,
things
2,
you're
3.
supposed to know, I wouldn't be able to do it. And that's like where your dynamic comes in great. So I can be like, okay, here's some boom bum, boom bum, And
I was like, what is Glenn doing on stage at this point? So we added these little oohs and ohs, and he did the pelvic thrust.
If you only knew.
There's a
And
discovery.
and
There's a
they're
new discovery with each.
Even though
with
you're
each-
singing them in high voice, they're deadly earnest lyrics.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you only knew
What
what
I'd
I'd do to you.
If I was that boy.
If I was that boy, what's inside of you?
It's inside of you. That's like 80s like metal lyric. Like that is so earnest. That's Journey. If you only knew what I do
Journey.
to you. But set against this is
Emotional.
insane.
Yes. Yeah.
If you've come for insane, you've come to the right place.
Also, so much
Whoa.
of what I love about this episode is, those rehearsal scenes before the musical
heck
begins
happened?
sets up so many jokes that pay off, like Dennis and Max switching, and then that paying off in like the hug that they do. That's very.
What the hell happened? Did the stream crash? Doesn't look like it. Weird.
Awkward.
It's a
that you know
sexually
supposed-
charged hug.
sexually charged embrace. But setting up those things and the D wanting to throw in a song and then having those things all like pay off during the musical.
I have a question about, did you guys write D's solo or is that?
Cormac did write that, yeah. Which is that we
I
knew
think we
it should
wrote
have
the
some
lyrics.
kind of
Clear.
melody.
I think
we
we wrote
the
words.
lyrics and then
We
yeah, and
we
then-
wrote the lyrics.
We
I'm
wrote the
pretty
lyrics,
sure. I
we
know
wrote
we
the
came
tune.
up with the idea of just just to be clear, like clarifying, the previous song.
And I think
So,
it
Lynn,
written it more like a song, like, just to be clear, I did not write that song and would never have sex with a child. Just to be clear, just to be clear.
It sounds like a Taylor Swift song.
I was thinking about when we were writing this, one of my concerns when we were kind of writing it was, I hope our goal here is not, we're trying to write a bad musical bad. I think we're trying to write a bad musical as well as we can.
As well as Charlie can. Yeah. No, the muse has visited Charlie.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's because there's the piece of me that is dying to be in musicals, sing songs, write songs, and then there's the piece of me that's it's too insecure to ever like really pursue it. So it's that sweet spot of like, well, if I just earnestly do it and then we make it funny, then you can get away with it. But
Safer.
like,
can we talk about the Troll Toll song
Please.
and what that is sort of modeled after? And is there like anything special about coming up with that? I mean, obviously Soul and Boy's Soul and
yeah, Boys Soul.
It is a 2-lyric song, and yet devastatingly effective.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to pay the troll toll to get into that boy's soul. And then they say, what's that name? They go right back to the cinema.
Hey.
So how do you find the form of this thing?
I just was playing the chords I knew, and so I was like, okay, the major chords are the love songs, and the minor chords are the bad guy, So it was, it was like as simple as like a bluesy kind of like.
I heard it. I was like, oh, this is a blues, right?
Boom, boom, boom,
It's
boom,
St.
boom,
James
boom,
Infirmary, right? Gotta pay the troll toll.
Yeah, don't. Yeah. What you say?
Hey.
Like Fat Albert.
That's a good thing that can work in any musical, really. Just saying, what'd you say?
What'd you
Just
say?
having
Hey,
people,
hey, hey.
yeah, what'd you
Evergreen.
say?
Yeah.
And then what was Danny's reaction to this? What was his level of...
Danny was gung ho to do it, but he took a little.
It's the craziest story, and I'll say it as quickly as possible because I'd met Danny a few times, but so we show up at the high school because we did this whole thing at one location. And the night before, I was nervous. I was like, what else can I give these guys to really make it click? And I thought, lyric sheets. We have the script, we have the music, lyric sheets. Just the song, a page with lyrics.
Right.
So I sent that off to the second AD, and they printed them out. And I meet Danny, and we run the song once or twice. And I turn around to my piano player. I said, Danny, let's do it one more time. This time, and I turn back, and he's halfway out the door. And on his way out, he grabs some papers off my music stand and just takes everything and disappeared for the rest of the day. And of course, and I thought you were all messing with me because I swear to God, every single cast member and every single crew member all day were asking me, hey, any more of those lyric sheets around? And Danny had just taken them out the door. So of course, Danny slays it the next day when we record. Cut to a year later when we did the tour. Or when we were rehearsing for the Troubadour, we all went over to his house to do this first rehearsal. I bring my piano player in. Rhea brings us into their piano. And she's like, oh, you can just clear some stuff off and work here. And I remember picking up a book, and there were all the lyric sheets and music marked up. He brought it home. He'd worked on it, which is
Why do you have to take everybody's credit?
Because he wanted to be
just a little quirks, Those are
Yeah, just a little. He's a little quirky guy.
Yeah.
He wanted us to fail.
So he'd
Yeah.
stand out.
He's the GOAT, man. I mean, he worked on that stuff, and he's so amazing. He just killed that stuff. And seeing that stuff at his home a year later, I was like, oh, this is a guy.
And also, he wanted to rehearse it nude in the 70s.
That's what you do.
That's
So he
right.
got comfortable.
He's also, one of the most delightful things about Danny is he still continues to approach things with a youthful exuberance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's okay to not be necessarily the best at something as long as he's having fun. He just has this childlike.
You see that in the
exploration.
scene where he gets assigned to the troll, and he's so excited.
I'm the troll guy.
Yeah. Well, one of our comedy tricks is always trying to subvert the expectation. So you're expecting him to be pissed that he's going to be the troll and offended. So
Yeah, right.
The second he's
Delighted.
excited, you're like, well, there's a joke. right?
His
Like-
entire social media presence is based on him taking pictures of his
Trollfoot.
feet in different locations and calling it Trollfoot in
That's true.
New York, Trollfoot in Paris, and it's just that's how much he's
Did that
embraced
come
it.
before or after the musical?
That came after the musical.
That was that. Oh, that was
After,
yeah,
right?
well
Yeah.
after. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dayman becomes Nightman. Danny DeVito became
Troll.
He became Trollfoot.
Trollman. Trollfoot.
I mean, this episode was truly the first. This was our way to understand how the audience at large was experiencing the show, because there was no social media at the time.
Right.
There was we were making a television show, so we did nothing live. We had no indicators as to whether or not people were watching the show or enjoying it. We had no interaction with fans other than out on the street or like Nielsen ratings.
Yeah.
So the very first time we performed this was at the Troubadour, and it was mind blowing. We had people like who knew every lyric to every song, they knew every line in the episode, and they were laughing before we were delivering them. To work in television and to be able to go out and to perform live, what a gift! What a gift that you get to see on a nightly basis how things are being received. It's fun.
Although I guess, like when you're doing a play, obviously people aren't singing along. Have you played like some concerts
Not
or
when I
some
saw Jesus
venues
Christ
where people have
Superstar.
had the opportunity to sing along? to
Dude,
songs
I went to a
you've
show in London of Hamilton 6 months ago. The entire theater sang every single
song.
song.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
They
'cause everybody
started
knows
singing
it
along.
backwards
Well,
and
that's
forwards
awesome.
now.
Hamilton was a really interesting case because I remember when no one knew the words, when we started previews,
of course.
and people were going out and sort of talking about the show and watching that front row slowly become like the live teleprompters over the course of the first year because we didn't release the cast album till like a month after we opened on Broadway, and that was our ambassador more than the show was. You know, you can only serve 1,400 people at a time on a given night, but then the way that album went out into the world was really like totally unexpected, and then it went from like we're showing you our new show to reading on Twitter like whatever line I fucked up that night. They're like, we saw it tonight and you fucked up this line. They know it better than
That's the downside of audience feedback.
Yeah, well, there's both sides, right? Is there another example, and forgive me for not knowing, but like of the person who's writing the musicals, starring in them? Like, has that been? Ian, I'm sure it's been done a few times, but like, what?
You.
You're talking about it in a theater setting, like in a Broadway
big
setting.
Broadway hits where the person is also the writer.
It was very much the case in the beginning of musical theater. Like George M. Cohan famously did that. Like he wrote Yankee Doodle Dandy and starred in Yankee Doodle Dandy. And then and now it's more of a thing. Like again, like Sarah Bareilles, like wrote Waitress, then went into Waitress. She's amazing in it. There's a young theater writer named Shayna Taub who's like incredible and starring in her own shows. So yes, but it's rare. Yeah.
It's part of what's so electric about seeing the performance, right? It's like
but I mean, for me, the hope is always that it lives beyond me. Like,
well, yeah, that's
the hope is you just write something really good that lasts.
I love In the Heights, and I remember seeing that, and I remember thinking, what's going to happen when this guy leaves the show? And I mean, it's a terrific show. It lives on. The movie's awesome. But I remember seeing you and thinking, what happens when Lynn
He
Manuel
becomes
leaves
the
the show?
Piragua guy.
I just get older and get a gut, and I play the Piragua guy. And then when you were at a drive-in about to get into a fight, the words of the Piragua guy will calm you down.
Oh, he's an actual fan. He actually listens to the podcast. Yeah, they were listening to In the Heights in my favorite episode. Rob almost fights some guy outside a hamburger shop.
And get a gut, and I play the Piragua guy. And then when you were at a drive-in about to get into a fight, the words of the Piragua guy will calm you down.
That is what we were listening to.
In the Heights.
You heard that story?
I did hear that story.
We were listening to In the Heights, but we were listening to, and it was Piragua was the song.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
But he heard Piragua and it brought him back.
Yeah.
Just calm him down for a second.
Yeah, it centered me again.
That's the power.
Just you thought, keep scraping by.
And that is the power of your music.
Yeah.
And
so okay, Troll Toll. I want to hit every song in this. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
We have to be thorough. So thank you. So we've done Little Baby Boy, and just to be clear, so I think Dayman is next to talk about.
Which was in a previous episode. This was a reprise for It's Always Sunny
existed.
fans.
The whole show was built around this particular song, which is really just a chorus twice, which is smart, right?
But wait a minute. But when you watch the episode, there's also like you're saying other stuff. Like it builds to.
That was Cormac. So
like you've got some some counterpoint going on.
Yes.
I don't know what Danny exactly is doing, but like you're doing like demon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you did add stuff to it.
Yes.
I just, again, it was like, what is everyone doing during this? And I really like harmonic music when everyone's doing stuff. And so I just arranged it and got there on the day. And I think we cut half of it. I overrode it. And we cut some of it. We added,
cut that.
I am the ruler of night and darkness,
Oh, yeah.
a master of bird and song.
A master of bird and song, right?
Master of bird.
And then
Right.
Dee's
Please
like,
go on.
you are the teacher of bird and man, a winner of contests near and far.
Yeah,
Winner of contests near and far.
Master of bird and song.
Yeah.
So that was kind of how we
what's
wrapped up this.
What's weird
I
about
also
that?
like, it's not part of the song, but the lead into that I really love because it's that song starts the third act, and Dee gets us up to speed by saying, you once were a boy and now you are a man and I am in love with you. And that just gets us like past. That's right. Like, that's the resolution. Now let's get to like the final
get a lot of
stuff.
exposition
Move
in there.
past
Sure,
it.
that chord progression also reminds me of from the original one. It was "They hate you, Nightman, and you don't belong to them."
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Which was me just riffing on the day.
And I miss your cold hands.
So bad. I think
Yeah,
it's
so bad.
That voice comes back. That in the
Well, that at the end where I come down and I sing the final song where
Explain the tongue in the back of your throat thing you're doing there.
it's Christopher Guest. I stole it from Christopher Guest. from
From
Waiting for Guffman, from a scene that I think was cut from Waiting for Guffman. So it's in like one of the songs he sings in the outtakes.
And he
A
kinda
penny
does that thing.
for your thoughts. Is it that one?
It might have been a penny for your thoughts.
Oh God, that's
Yeah, at one point, or maybe it's in the. Yeah, but he was
I die for your dreams. The cut stuff in Guffman is better than most musicals.
There's a big Guffman influence in this episode too. Right?
Oh, yeah,
It's
for
just
sure.
Like the seriousness of a play that's not good. It's very funny.
right. Yeah.
It's well, that transitions into the last song, really, which is your proposal song, where you descend, and quite a piece of stagecraft too. You descending, like it doesn't seem like that big of a production, and then you somehow have
And
a
it's,
son
and
that
it's
descends.
secret. No one else knew. No one else knew there was a son.
No.
And then Mary Elizabeth's flipping through the pamphlet to be like, wait, there's another song I gotta
thought
sit
we were
through.
done. Yeah, I thought we were done.
Now we made a very, very, very big mistake when we did the live version of this show. We thought we had to stick to the truth of the canon, and in the episode, she says no, of course, and storms out. But when you pack a room full of 3,000 people, and Charlie comes down,
yes,
and he's singing the song "Will You Marry Me? Will You Marry Me?" We put Mary Elizabeth out in the crowd, and we put a spotlight on her, and we had her say no. Huge mistake.
The audience turned on her.
I mean,
The boos were.
the booze. I'm surprised
angry.
she didn't get ripped apart. Like
They were married in real life.
you. Yeah, like they're already married.
Can't marry him.
And then we didn't learn our lesson.
But if you have her
Even that,
saying
like, I
yes,
remember
that
the
creates
first
a
time
total
Mary Elizabeth was like,
alternate
"Hey guys, like,
reality.
they're like really vicious."
We're safe out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, all we had to do is just have her say yes. Just have her say yes. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, in the
Just
theater,
reality.
things can happen.
Things can
that don't
happen.
happen in
We
real
should've
life.
Well,
done
that
at least
They would have
one
gone
show.
crazy.
But I do love in the episode after she says no, there's a really sweet moment where Frank says to Charlie, like, she's not worth it, man.
Yeah, I liked
like
it.
he's
I thought
comforting
did a
you
good
after
I
job.
thought the rape scene went really well.
I thought the rape scene went really well. I'm up to here.
It's a great musical, Charlie. You did a great job. She ain't worth it.
Especially nobody just writes a musical for no reason.
I am here. I am past here.
And by the way, I thought the rape scene went really well.
I am here. I am here with it. And that was awful for me. And if you bring this up back to the apartment tonight, I'm going to smack you. I swear to God.
Well, we got to do another season of this show. We're going into season 16. If you ever want to write a musical for us,
I would not possibly presume to improve on this incredible today.
That's fair. It is Disney. It is a Disney show now, so it's all in the family. We could call your boss.
That's what I call my boss.
We could call your boss, Tommy. Is Tommy his name? Tommy. Tommy.
Tommy.
When you've known him as long.
Give us Lynn Manuel.
We only need him for a week now.
Get him off the stage, Tom. Get him back in Hollywood. Come on, let's write a song right now.
These things just make sense to him.
Now we'll rap or something.
It's like throw it up. You know, yeah.
Look, you'll make 1/25th of what you make now per week, but
Yeah.
it'll be a lot of fun for us.
Yeah.
I think it'll be less than that, actually.
Less fun?
Yeah, we'll talk.
Less money. All right,
We'll
we'll
work
He
something
doesn't
out.
need the money.
We'll work it out. We'll work it out with Tom.
Scale.
And Tommy will let him know.
Yes,
Your
exactly.
boss. Your boss will let you know.
You don't have a boss. I cannot tell you how mad he got when I said, you don't have a boss.
Yeah.
There's no one in the...
You
don't have a boss?
I was frustrated.
You
for
wrote
him.
Hamilton.
Why are you?
You don't
why
have
do
a
you,
boss.
you don't have a boss, man? Can I just break this down for you? You don't have a boss.
And then some
he-
guy
he
named
writes
Tommy
really
was
slow.
like,
I was at the drive.
is that right?
Yeah.
Lin Manuel doesn't have a boss? Let me tell you about his father's debts.
But I think you're right. You did rightfully say, like, I think you're talking to yourself, man. Like, you're getting very worked up about this. And I was like, oh, maybe I am.
Yeah.
It was like sort of just you're ready to meet out justice. There was no
Yeah.
one to meet out justice to.
Yeah.
Rob Justice was
There's
there.
no one to
Rob
Adult
Justice,
justice
Rob
to in this
Justice showed up
situation.
at our dinner.
He never
being
shows up when you
Who
want
told
him
you
to
you
be
have a
there."
boss?
You want to write Rob Justice real quick? Come on, I know you can do it.
We could.
I think it's very telling that somebody else who reached out about Nightman and then became a fan of the show is Bobby Lopez.
Yeah.
Is a big fan of Sonny, which is really cool. Like to hear that too. I mean, Bobby is one of the other giant pillars of musical theater right
wrote
now.
Book
and has
of
been
Mormon,
incredible.
wrote Frozen.
And the fact that he really enjoys what you guys do is awesome.
He said, didn't he also do Avenue Q?
Yeah, he did
That
Avenue
was
Q.
his first. He said he'd watch Nightman Cometh every night. He was in rehearsals for Avenue Q.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah. And then
You guys, it's about putting on a show. Like it hits the same sort of like pleasure centers in your brain that Guffman does. That like, yes, they may not be great at it, but they are doing their damnedest to put
Yeah.
on a show.
Just even down to the costumes, like the ill-fitting costumes, and
Yeah.
she's going to rip the pits, but they can't because they're
No,
expensive and they have
it's
to
a
return
rental.
them.
Yeah.
It's a rental.
Do not rip
The
that.
cognitive dissonance of Dee dressed as like Princess Peach while holding a coffee thing, like
Yes.
it doesn't make any
She
fucking
was dressed like
sense.
Princess Peach.
Yeah, she
was.
That was always the idea,
that
right?
was the look,
Just
yeah.
dressed like, that princess. That's the Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Princess.
And then the Dayman being symbolized with a silver like onesie and the cod piece,
Which is a
It's like,
throwback to the
Dennis's
original
obsession.
Dayman, Nightman
Yes.
Yeah,
costume that
Dennis's
you wore.
obsession with the.
But just your little improv of taking the thing off and being like, now I'm a man. See? Added that little C in.
because it takes a minute to get
Yeah.
the
See?
reveal.
See? There it is.
But,
Well,
and then
Lynn,
you
this has
said-
been an honor to have
Thank you.
have you here.
Cormac, you as well. Thank you
Cormac,
for
yeah,
joining
also an honor
us.
to have you.
Could we play us out with some Dayman? Just a little
Dayman?
bit. Just play us out, yeah.
See ya.
Who's gonna sing it? Champion of the sun.
You're a master of karate and friendship for everyone. Dayman. Fighter of the Nightman. Champion of the sun. You're a master of karate and friendship for everyone.
Look at him. He's got a big smile on his face.
Stage freeze. Say stage freeze. Just do it.
Do it, man.
Fighter of the Nightman. Champion of the sun. You're a master of karate and friendship for everyone. Dayman. Fighter of the Nightman.
God.
Champion of the sun. You're a master of karate and friendship for
That's a
everyone.
wrap on season 4.
Fighter of the Nightman. Champion of the sun. You're a master of karate and friendship for everyone. Dayman.
say stage freeze, just do it.
All right. Another week gone. Bye-bye.